welcome to Eventually. I'm Helena. This is my co-host, Rio.
I'm Rio.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I've been going to the gym lately, so my body hates me.
But your mind sharpening.
No, it's a gym. It's a body thing.
Yeah, but exercise makes your brain healthy.
Really?
I mean, it's for your mental health. Yeah, it's good.
Oh.
Endorphins, right? That's a thing.
I thought that's what the library was for.
I mean, that's important too.
I think of everything in video game concepts. So if you're going to the gym, that's purely physical. You go to the library or like the internet, that's purely mental. Different attributes, if you will.
I think I see where you're going here. Which is, welcome to our video about character creation in Chronicles of Darkness.
It's also episode 2, and I'm finally glad we're getting around to doing episode 2.
Yeah.
F you, 2020.
But thank you, viewer, for being here with us. All right.
And
so
Cooper's sitting on me today.
For now.
And we fed him already, so it won't be like last time where he like runs off in the middle.
I really don't like how you favor Cooper over Teddy, who's right behind you.
I knew Teddy for years, and me and Cooper are just getting to know each other.
I feel like because he's more conventionally attractive, you favor him.
No, he just reminds me of my dog. He's the goblin version
true.
of my dog.
He looks just like Barnaby. Okay, so we're going to be making Helena into a character, a Helena of Darkness, if you will.
If you will.
Just to kind of get you guys introduced to how to make a human character. We'll then later go in future videos go into more about the special classes? Races.
The general term is templates.
Templates.
It's supernatural template. That's what your vampire, your changeling, and everything is your supernatural template.
Okay, so my Helena of Darkness, I'm going to start recording on this. I think that makes sense, right?
I'm hoping we weren't supposed to be recording from the get-go.
Well, but why would we need to do that? I haven't done anything.
I don't know. I don't do the editing. I don't know how annoying everything is.
I mean, we just need it to be easy for us. We don't care about the editing.
So we've changed our setup to where instead of Coulter being in the other room, he's like right in our eye line now. So if he needs to flip us off, he is fully within his doing it right now.
Seeing his cute face helps me zen center.
He is adorable.
Okay, so where do we start? I've got my name, obviously.
Oh, I mean,
Helena of Darkness.
So I mean, that's something you never have first off the get. So I think you should just like pop that in to where it says name on your character sheet.
Okay, here we go.
It won't show up on the TV.
Oh wait, I'm using the
the
eraser.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay. La 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 la.
That is some big font.
You can read it. Of Darkness. Of Darkness. Okay. Got my name. We're done.
All right. So step 1.
We're not done.
So step 1 of all Chronicles of Darkness characters is you need to come up with a concept. Now, concepts are usually 2 like really punchy words that give you like an overall kind of like thought and feel on what the character is, and then we're going to be referring back to that concept every stage as we go. So like some good ones that they have in the book are like Coulter, what are some good ones that they have in the book?
Smart doctor.
Yeah, smart doctor. Obviously,
that's
you're
not me.
Yeah, you're not a smart doctor, but I mean you're smart, you're just not a doctor.
Silly clown. I don't. Yeah, that's not me either.
So, like, if you were in this kind of like dark, gritty world where everything's just like a little bit grittier,
what would I be?
A little bit darker, what would Helena be?
I mean, I'd like to think that I would be an angry writer, maybe. Like I would use journalism and blogging to tell people about the dangers of the world.
Okay, so maybe passionate blogger or passionate journalist?
Yeah, I think I like journalist better. It's more official. I mean, this is a fantasy. I could do that. I could be that. Okay.
Maybe
what do we say?
Passionate journalist. And maybe try and write it smaller this time.
Passionate.
You're going to run out of room.
J. Journalist.
So, like, Coulter and Hank both use these kind of digital character sheets. How do you guys get the text so small? I probably shouldn't talk to the guy who's not allowed to talk back. I don't think you're supposed to do that.
I keep looking over there as if I can see it. As if it's going to be there,
you can't.
Okay, so passionate journalist, it's in there. I got it. Okay.
And so that's step one. So now you have a mind of who this character is going forward.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
She's plugged in and she wants people to protect themselves.
Yeah.
And she likes to write.
Mm-hmm. And she's probably way too into Che Guevara.
And his last words, which were, "Shoot, coward, you only kill a man." Fun fact.
Shoot, coward, comma, you only kill a man. Not like, I thought you said
period.
I thought you said shoo as in like get out of here. Like, shoo, coward, you only kill a man.
I mean, last words are hard to nail down. It could have been that. You never know.
Do you know what his last meal was?
No.
I don't either. I was asking.
Oh, okay. No, it was probably
we should look that up.
That's...
Coulter, put right here what Che Guevara's last meal was. Just right in here.
They probably didn't feed him.
Well, I mean, you always have a last meal before you're put to death. Wasn't he executed?
Yeah, but I don't... Okay, we're so far off. Okay, back to...
Well, that's why people tune in, is to watch people get off topic, right? That's...
About Che Guevara. That's who we really should have made as a character.
All right, so second step is anchors. And as we talked about in our previous video, anchors for regular vanilla Chronicles of Darkness characters are virtue and vice. And if you remember from that video, we already kind of picked your virtue and vice.
Okay.
You remember what they were, by chance?
What video are you talking about?
Our first episode of Eventually.
Oh.
We got to virtue and vice. I was like, what do you think your virtue would be?
Well, so my virtue was open-mindedness. I don't know that we did a vice.
Yeah, we did. It was,
I mean, I would go with wrath for this particular character.
All right, so open-mindedness, we definitely decided would be your virtue. And then I do kind of like anger, not necessarily in a passionate way, but like flying off the handle. That works as a good vice. It's like almost like rage as opposed to anger.
Okay.
Like you fly into a journalistic rage. All right, so after that, now we get into attributes. Because we have your concept, we have your virtue, we have your vice. Now we have to just kind of decide who she is as a person. And so when we're doing attributes, we need to determine who your primary, your secondary, and your tertiary attributes are. So mental, physical, and social. Which one do you think she would prioritize?
Probably mental.
Mm-hmm. And then probably social as a secondary, because she probably has to talk to people, intimidate them, or whatever.
Well, make connections, certainly, yeah. and contacts.
And then probably her physical attributes are going to be her weakest, just because she's probably an average person, physically.
Oh, for sure. Okay. I mean, that's certainly not what she's getting into journalism for.
Yeah.
Physically fit.
So
okay.
You have 5 dots in your primary, 4 dots in your secondary, and then 3 dots in your tertiary.
5,
4,
4, 3.
And this is a great tip for you, those of you watching at home. Every single person I've had has written these numbers down, because you will forget a million times. But at the bottom of your character sheet, it also lists all of this information, which is super handy about Chronicles of Darkness character sheets. Is if you're ever confused, how many points do I get? It's right there at the bottom. Sure. But anyway, so 5 dots in mental. Do you need to go over what the different
So we've got
mean
intelligence, wits, and resolve. So in order to be a journalist, I think we want to probably prioritize resolve, because that's going to be your persistence and ability to continue to work with people. So
and
I'm
also
do at least 2 dots in there.
And also your ability to like crank out that article in the middle of the night to make it by your deadline and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, and then I think wits is also going to be 2 dots, and then my last one in intelligence, just kind of, because thinking on your feet is going to be really important, and especially in terms of like coming up with questions to ask people. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then we've got our social skills, presence, manipulation, composure. So, are journalists manipulative?
I don't know if they're manipulative. I could definitely see an argument for like composure, because you have to like keep your cool in like very, very tense situations and stuff like that. But I feel like she would probably be average in everything else. You know what I mean? And so, just so you know, like average, as far as Chronicles of Darkness is concerned, is 2 dots. So if you have 2 dots in intelligence, you're considered average in intelligence. So like right now with Helena of Darkness, we have above average resolve, above average wits, then above average composure.
Okay. And then strength, in our physical skills, we've got strength, dexterity, stamina. I mean, is it just kind of a good idea just pop 1 in each so that I'm
we
about
know
average?
for a fact that you have good constitution. We talked about that earlier.
Stamina.
So that would be your stamina. So I feel like maybe having your stamina a little bit higher and then maybe low on strength.
So like 2 for stamina and 1 for dexterity.
Yeah, so bringing you to 1, 2, 3.
I have pretty good hand-eye coordination.
Yeah.
You know, should I need to throw a ball or catch a ball?
You know, when you're fighting the hordes of darkness that are inherent in the Chronicles of Darkness, being able to throw balls is really important.
It hurts. Or they are distracted a la a dog.
Ironically, throwing a ball is usually considered a strength roll.
Well, shit.
All right. So you picked your attributes. So, like, just to kind of go over them again, even though guys are seeing them on the screen, we got the primary and mental, where we have 2, 3, 3, and then tertiary and physical, where we got 1, 2, 3, and then in social over there, we got 2, 2, 3. You happy with that?
Pretty well-rounded character. I mean, there's a lot of 3s already. That's nice to start with.
And keep in mind that these dots immediately go into your dice rolls, so the more dots you have, the better. You know.
I mean, you're using these attributes almost every roll, it feels like. At least one of them.
Most rolls are an attribute matched with a skill or an attribute matched with something else. So attributes are pretty important, and they're one of the more expensive things to raise once game starts, too. So you don't want to necessarily start out super weak in like a bunch of different places. Because it's tempting to go like, oh, I want 4 dots in something in each one, but then like, you know, if you put them all in like your finesse attributes, like then you have no raw power in any one area, and they're less so with your resistance stats, you know what I mean? Which defends you. You know, this character is definitely more on the like survivor side, because all of her resistance stats are a little bit higher.
I mean, and that makes sense. I'm not fighting the monsters. I'm just trying to help people
bring the truth to the people. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Step 4? Step 4, yeah. Step 4 is your skills. Now, that's all down that left-hand column right there. And like we talked about in our first video, we got mental, we got physical, and we got social. Now, it's important to keep in mind, you do not have to prioritize your skills the same way you prioritized your attributes. It's kind of like it makes you feel like you want to do it that way, but there are definitely characters out there who, you know, are very intelligent with very few mental skills, you know. But in these categories, you're looking at 11 in your primary category, 7 in your secondary category, and 4 in your tertiary category.
Okay. All right. So with mental, I think computer is going to be really important.
Okay.
So definitely is 1 in there. 11 dots.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe mental isn't her primary, you know what I mean?
Oh. You did just say that, didn't you? I mean, so if I upped my physical, I mean, like, certainly Helena of Darkness would probably want to have a firearm of some kind.
She's dealing with zombies and vampires and crap. She's definitely going to want to have a gun.
Okay. So,
and what I suggest to a lot of my players is go through all the skills, pick the things you definitely know you're going to want, and then pick where to put your points. Because that way, you're not like getting all the way through. You spend 11 dots in mental, and then you get to social skills. It's like, oh, I want at least 8 abilities in here, and I don't have enough points for that. So I would definitely go into that. And then Another thing to consider when assigning your points, 1 dot means that you have like some basic training in the skill or like kind of like a knack for it. 2 dots, you're a little bit more of a professional, and then up to 5 dots, that's rare in the world. Like to have 5 dots in a skill means you're like a world-renowned talent in that skill. So if you have 5 dots in acrobatics, you're like an Olympic level athlete, you know, like best in the world. What are you bubbling in there?
Okay, so I'm doing what you said, just kind of like choosing what does seem important to me. So computers, investigation, politics, I think I need to have some ranks in there.
Yeah.
Firearms and survival. Now, weaponry, that's just using anything that's not a firearm.
That's melee
a
weapons,
weapon.
yeah.
Okay. Probably not going to need that. And then persuasion and probably socialize are going to be important. Maybe even streetwise. You know, my social skills might be my top one.
And don't forget expression, too, because when you write those articles, that's expression.
Yeah. So I think I might make my social skills my 11. And then probably still my mental skills is the 7. Because I think physically I'm still going to be pretty... not going to have a whole lot of help there.
Off the top of my head, larceny makes sense because journalists have to get places that they really probably shouldn't be.
Okay.
I mean, according to movies and TV, I mean, like, they're always breaking into, like, abandoned warehouses and stuff. And also consider that as a journalist in the world of darkness, you're also, like, breaking into places that, like, are vampire lairs and shit like that. And then also might consider athletics, like... Think about what Harry would say, cardio.
Yeah, you need to do some cardio.
If you're not going to be able to fight him, you got to be able to run away from him. Ooh, Teddy. There you go, buddy.
All right, so I've got 5, 4, 5 so far.
So 1 needs to go up to 7, and 1 needs to go up to 11.
So if we do mental at 7, then let's go ahead and give me 1 in academics.
Makes sense.
That never hurts to have that.
And if you're trying to bring the truth to the people, occult wouldn't be terribly...
Yeah, have some knowledge of that stuff. Okay, and then social. So we're going to probably up these all to 2, maybe. That's 8. Let's see. We'll do 1 in empathy, at least.
Maybe subterfuge?
Subterfuge, 2 in subterfuge. We'll do that last 2, because I'm going to need to be able to finesse a little bit.
Yeah, you know, like, yeah, I'm supposed to be here. I got a press pass. I'm supposed to be here.
I'm finding that I don't know much about what journalists do. So I'm trying to fill this out. So hopefully we're not offending any journalists out there. You do good work. And we appreciate it.
I'm just basing it off all the superhero TV shows I watch. The journalists are always like breaking in, like think of like Mary Jane Watson. She's always like breaking into like art galleries and discovering that they're secretly like magic Japanese no masks that channel dark energy and stuff like that.
It really backfires on her.
I mean, I'm really just quoting like the Spider-Man, the PS4 Spider-Man game, like what she does in that. But
okay, so what's skill
Step
specialty?
5 would be skill specialties.
Okay.
Now we talked about this in the original Eventuality video, like your skill catch, call back to Gritty Hatchet Man Sniper. Where we gave him a specialty in sniper rifles because he was a gritty hatchet man sniper.
Oh, okay.
So now, as a journalist, what areas do you think that she would be particularly skilled at? Definitely probably expression, because she is a writer. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. How many skill specialties do you get?
3.
Oh, okay.
At character creation. You can buy more with experience points, but at character creation you get 3.
Okay, so yeah, expression, absolutely. So writing, are we saying?
I would say writing, yeah, that would make sense. Because maybe she does short stories on the side or something too. It's a little broad, but it's also something that's not really going to come up much in a game environment. So me as a storyteller, even though in other areas I would say that's too broad, in this particular category I can't see you using it very often. So it makes sense for the character, and you might use it at some point, so I would allow it being more broad than I otherwise would.
Well, it could be like informative writing.
But see, I feel like that's even more niche. You know what I mean?
You want it to be broader?
Well, I'm saying it's broader because writing in a tabletop RPG setting, you're not going to really use that specialty that often. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. It being a bit more broader in that sense is fine because there's so few situations where making a writing check is really going to change the story in your favor. You know what I mean?
Oh, well, probably not.
But it's a perfect specialty for the character, so we're being true to the character. That's why I would allow it to be broader.
Okay. Investigation, I think, would be a good place to have a specialty. How would we put this?
So investigation specialties usually go around like crime scene or like tracking people or like puzzles, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. Like, so like, do you think she's good at crime scenes? Do you think she's good at research? Do you think she's good at like...
Well, I feel like she'd be good at like seeing the supernatural potential in a situation. So if there was a crime scene, she would be looking for those clues that something weird happened.
Okay, so I would like word that maybe as like supernatural clues.
Okay.
Like she's good at picking out or like monster clues or something like that.
This line is very small.
Yeah, when you have like a pencil and you're not using it digitally, it's usually easier. But that's also why they have the boxes on the side, so you can just check the box and then write it elsewhere. You know, you have a specialty in there.
Check. Who doesn't love checking a box?
And then you can write it somewhere, either on the back of the page, like you want to do, or at the bottom.
Nat. Close. Ebu. God, that's terrible. Okay. And then a physical skill specialty. I think I'll just round myself out here a little bit. Firearms, probably, or survival. Let's see. Like finding a place to hide, you think? Would that be something you could put in survival?
Survival is more about like your ability to like survive, like find food, forage, stuff like that. So I wouldn't necessarily think that, no. I mean, finding shelter maybe, but like I would say finding a place to hide would be more of a stealth thing.
Okay. Okay, so
but
then
you could also do
back
athletics running. Like if you like run daily, it would make sense that you have a low athletics when it comes to climbing or swimming, but you like go for a daily run. A specialty in running would make you a little bit better at that one specific activity.
And that could apply to when I'm trying to escape, running away. Okay. Yeah, let's do that. Even though I don't think Helena of Darkness would run either, but
she would run if she was being chased by zombies.
Oh yeah, maybe. Or maybe I just let them take me. I don't know.
Oh, Helena of Darkness would not just roll over and die. Real life Helena and Rio, we have already talked about this. We hope to die very early in the apocalypse.
Preferably together.
Yeah.
I want to be on a bunch of drugs. Yeah. Anyway, all right. Well,
I might start drinking again at the apocalypse. That sounds like a good time.
I would enable you at that. But we have to be really sure the world is ending.
Yeah,
first.
like it has to be like zombies outside.
Like 100%.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, cool. Is that all in skills?
Yeah, that's all skill specialties. Yeah.
Okay.
We're done with that. Now we move on to merits, which arguably is like the thickest part of the player's handbook. There are a lot of merits that give you very specific things. As a Chronicles of Darkness character, you get 5 merit dots at character creation, and merits run the gamut from being set costs, like just 1 dot or 2 dots, and then there's also merits that have varying degrees, like 1 to 5. Like resources is a good example of that. You can have 1 resource dot, you have 2, 3, 4, or 5, each one dictating how much money you actually have. Contacts, allies, physical things like being a giant or a midget. Not a midget. I think they call it petite.
Okay, so I'm thinking contacts is going to be pretty essential.
Huge,
I would really recommend that for any Chronicles of Darkness is to have at least one kind of contact because it always helps with roleplay
And contacts is an interesting merit because each dot in contacts just represents a different group of people you have contacts with. as opposed to like allies, where the more dots you have, the more loyal your allies within that group are. So if you put 3 dots in contacts, that gives you 3 different groups of people that you have contacts with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then resources, definitely
Your
want
money.
that, right?
Yeah, that's your money and your like overall net worth as a person. Like if you want to have like a car and an apartment, all that stuff, you need to have resource dots. And the book has a really in-depth explanation as to what each dot of resources actually gets you. But it doesn't look like it at first because it's all like just commas separating it. So make sure you read resources closely. It'll save your life.
Wouldn't it be so great if we could trade our real life experiences for money? Like, if we could somehow buy our own resource dots with cool stories. I think we would be very rich.
I mean, I always tell people who ask me for advice on this particular system is that you should try and, when people are spending their experience points, it should be on things that they have been working on. You know what I mean? So, like, if they've been picking locks and not doing great, let them buy up their larceny. You know what I mean? If they recently came into something, maybe suggest them to, like, put dots in a new contact in merits, or new resources if they, like, you know, screwed over a vampire CEO and, like, got access to his bank accounts. You know what I mean? Like, so I would try and tie it to the actual story, but, I mean, it's up to you. The book doesn't force you to do that. So.
Okay, so I don't see needing to be really big or really small. Any other merits of note that you like for human characters?
Well, I don't see you being a stunt driver. I don't see you being a gunslinger. Is she ambidextrous? Does she have common sense?
Ooh, common sense. I like that one a lot. That one's so nice. Why do I always forget about that merit? It's so good.
I think Mark is the first person who has ever taken it in one of my games.
It is helpful.
He has used it to great use.
Okay, so I'm going to do 1 in each of these at least. I think I'm going to do 2 in contacts because I think I'd like a little more. And then maybe common sense, you don't have to have more than 1 dot, right? You just do 1 dot.
Coulter, do you remember how many dots common sense was? Just 1? I'd have to look it up. Hang on.
Oh, no. should we be stopping to look stuff up?
No. I mean, it takes me 2 seconds.
Okay.
Because it was we actually put it up on the last video, I remember, and I just don't remember how many dots it was off the top of my head. Tell us a fun story about your life, Helena.
I played cornhole today. I find the term cornhole very strange. Where did that come from? Who thought of that?
I think it used to be you chucked literal corn into the hole. Because it's...
Like kernels of corn?
No, like cobs of corn. Like you would toss...
God, I hope so. I really do. In fact, fuck the bean bags. Let's go back to corn cobs.
Or maybe
you could I feel like you could
maybe the bean bags used to be filled with corn?
That's fucking it. Why are you so smart?
I don't know.
That's fucking it right there. Should I be not cursing so much?
Probably not.
Who knows?
I will say I'm probably going to cut this whole section. It's like when Rio starts looking, I was just going to put it up on the screen.
Oh, okay.
Like, I would
Cool.
just be like, 30. I think it's 30.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I found it, but it doesn't tell me how many fucking dots it is. Damn it. Wish I'd brought my book. Couldn't find it. Common sense, 3 dots. So...
Oh, you have to put 3 in it.
Yeah, common sense is a 3-dot merit.
All right, so I guess I'm getting rid of contact, 2 in contacts, and just having to put 3 there, 1 in resources, 1 in contacts.
So you're not a super successful journalist, for sure.
I mean, I'm a level 1. I'm working on it. Let's say this Helena's 22.
The great Taylor Swift age. Are you feeling 22? Creating this character? You feeling
God,
it?
I can't even. I don't
Can't
want to go
even
back to
imagine.
22. No. But, Helena of Darkness can be 22. Working on our journalism career.
All right, so that's merits, you know what I mean? Like, and at this point, No, step 5 is the template usually. But anyway, moving forward, now we wrap up the character creation with advantages. Now, advantages, so you're going to go below your merits right there, and you see where it says size. All normal humans, unless you took a merit otherwise, you're going to be size 5. So you can put that in right away.
It's in.
Oh, I'm looking at the screen.
Where there's nothing.
So your willpower, which is like kind of like up here. This is just on my prompter here. This is
I'll circle it.
So with willpower, it's going to be a combination of your resolve dots plus your composure dots.
Resolve 3 plus composure also 3.
So you're going to fill in 6 dots under willpower. Above that, you see your health dots right there. That's going to be a combination of your size, which is 5, and your stamina, which I believe is 3. So you'll have 8.
8 stamina. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Not stamina, health. Good health.
Before you get excited about having 8 health boxes, those go so fast if you get shot with a shotgun.
Because of my fragile human skin. Okay.
Under that, you have integrity. Now, all humans start out usually at 7 integrity. If you feel like your character would be less or more as far as that's concerned, talk to your storyteller. See if maybe you can get some freebies out of that.
Now, when are you usually using integrity dice?
So integrity kind of it measures your level of like what's okay. So the higher your integrity is, I really wish I had brought it up, like the actual like what each one means. But the higher your integrity is, like an integrity 10, having a selfish thought can make you what's called make a degradation roll. And a degradation roll, if you fail it, you go down in integrity, and then you get what are called like conditions, like you kind of go crazy. So it kind of is there to represent like you have to do darker and darker things to survive in this new world that you've been thrust into. And, you know, like every time you take the life of something that looks human, like that like hits you a little bit. And if you ever drop below 1 integrity, you go insane, you're not a playable character anymore.
Oh.
You know, but as you drop, the things get worse and worse that make you have to roll for it.
The conditions of going crazy are going to impact what you can do as you move
Like
around.
you might become paranoid, you might become phobic of something, you might become schizophrenic, or like it's like just trauma causing these new like traumatic experiences. Like you're slowly losing your grip, you know. And like each one of the templates has kind of like a different version of integrity, which we talked about in the first episode. But for humans, it's literally kind of like your morality. You know what I mean? Like killing a person, shoplifting, setting a building on fire. All of those are on different levels of integrity and can cause you to drop down if you do them.
Okay.
Even if you have the best intentions, which is kind of realistic.
Okay.
All right. So moving forward, you have speed, which is going to be your species factor, which is 5 for a human, plus your strength and dexterity.
5 plus 1 strength, 2 dexterity, so 8. Okay.
And that's the number of meters that you can move on your turn.
Okay.
That's your speed. So to liken it back to Dungeons & Dragons, like every race has a speed. In Chronicles of Darkness, it's kind of based on what your stats are.
Okay.
Defense is a combat thing that I think probably our next episode will probably be combat. We'll probably start talking about combat next before we go into the templates. But with defense, it's going to be the lower of your dexterity or wits, plus your athletics dots.
So 2 dexterity's lower, 2 plus athletics 1, so 3.
So you'd have 3. So whenever you're attacked by a non-gun, because guns don't let you can't use defense against gunfire. But like if somebody tries to punch you or stab you, they have to subtract 3 from your defense.
Oh wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, they would use strength plus brawl probably, so I guess it depends on how many dice they got with.
I mean, like just think of Ruby. Like how many dice does she roll for that?
Yeah. Too many. But not enough. Okay.
You obviously don't have armor, but it is something that you could spend resource dots on getting as body armor. Your initiative modifier is your dexterity plus your composure.
Dex 2 plus composure 3. 5. And that's plus a d10, right? When you're in the moment.
You roll a d10, add 5 to it. After that...
Hey, this one has beats and experiences on it.
Yeah, so does
Cool.
yours.
I don't think it does. I think it's an older one.
It should.
I wrote it in. So I probably wrote it in like right below where it actually is.
You might have gotten an older character sheet from like an older version of Werewolf.
Perhaps.
Accident.
We'll see.
But I mean, after that, you're basically done. I mean, you can see it on the screen right now, but like weapons and like your equipment and stuff, that's all stuff you can kind of like... it's all stuff you can kind of like go over with your dungeon storyteller, and also resource dots come into that because the more resource dots you have, the more stuff you can buy, and so on and so forth.
This is one of my favorite processes with you when we create a new character, is going through all these spaces and really fleshing them out.
I feel like Chronicles of Darkness, like after you finish, you just have a better idea of who the character is, because like unlike like Dungeons and Dragons or even Starfinder, where you're kind of just picking I'm this race and I'm that class, nothing really like tells you who the character is. In this one, I feel like because you're assigning like this is their primary, this is their secondary, and like the concept and all these things, like you just have like it just lets you build in a way that speaks to who the character is.
And if you're feeling stuck, it's also like a way to really compartmentalize your new person.
And I also like how in Chronicles of Darkness, every decision you make, like when we were going over, like, well, she would have expression because she's a writer, like, you're choosing the things based on who the character is, less on... I mean, of course, there's people who min-max Chronicles of Darkness. That's... are you familiar with min-maxing?
Yeah, it seems like that would be kind of boring in Chronicles of Darkness to do that.
I mean, we've definitely had players in the past who have, like, I'm a stealthy sniper, so I have all my dots in firearms, all my dots in stealth, and I roll 15 dice every time I do it. And I agree, it doesn't feel realistic, and it doesn't feel fun. You know what I mean? But some people play that way. You know, like, it's up to them and their storyteller and the story they want to tell, you know?
I think this also can be a fun process to do as a group if you've got your guild, so to speak, together, and everybody kind of talks about what their characters, and especially how your characters know one another. Because
I think when we did the Innocence character for season 2, we all sat down and we went over like who the characters were and like the roles that everyone was fulfilling. And I think when we did the monster characters, we did that separate because everyone was kind of like separated at that point. But
that's true. I guess this maybe actually putting the numbers to the paper might not be something you do as a group, but I really like talking about characters.
Well, we have a zero session coming up for Rime of the Frost Maiden, not to shamelessly plug my own channel, and in that zero session we kind of go over that process for our D&D characters, you know, really and so that's something, if you're interested to see kind of like what we're talking about with that group dynamics and all talking it out, that's definitely something I would check out when it released next week. Next week? Yeah, next week. Because we still need, I think, shoot that, so...
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's not ready. We don't have the book yet. It's not here yet. We're waiting.
I know. Waiting for this book has become entirely too... Well, we're talking about Chronicles of Darkness. Get out of my show, D&D, until we have you on.
Yeah, and well, it's the record show. It was him.
So, for you, I mean, like, I know probably as far as creating characters done, you've probably created several Chronicles of Darkness characters over the years.
Yeah.
Like, what are your final thoughts on it? Like, what do you feel as our resident... normie who is seduced into this life of tabletops?
Prioritize wits and composure. Those dice rolls are always going to come up.
But don't min-max. Be true to the character.
Yeah, try not to do that.
But also wits and composure.
Very important. important.
Resolve is also really good because that gets you that sweet, sweet willpower dots.
But yeah, I think that I think I've talked about kind of what I find most fun about doing this, and you know, I think that there's, with the other role-playing games having so many different classes and races available to you, I think if you're starting in Chronicles of Darkness and you're like, wait, what, I have to be human and that's like it? I think that that's actually kind of an interesting challenge to kind of play as someone who has a lot of limitations. Does that mean maybe your characters die more often? Maybe.
I mean, do they die and come back as like a vampire or some of the... I mean, because death in the world of Chronicles of Darkness there's at least 3 different templates that are all people who used to be alive.
I didn't even think about that. They do that a lot.
Because you got Geist and you got Promethean and you have Vampire. They all used to be alive. And I think mummies... I'm not as familiar with mummy. I still need to do my research on that one. But they're also... It's mummies, so they're probably also undead.
Yeah, and you can think of it as something to work up to. I think that it's nice. Chronicles of Darkness has really streamlined buying new dots. So
spending experience points is fun.
Yeah, just know what you want to work towards and be aware of that.
And that's another thing. Like, we didn't really run into this with this character because it just kind of flowed onto the page. But like, if you can't get everything you want, like if you can only get 1 dot in a skill, just remember it's only 2 experience points. That's like 3-4 sessions in. You know, like take notes of things that you want to spend your experience points on and like work towards it. Like, and let that be a guide for you, you know what I mean? Like, I had one character in our very long-standing World of Darkness characters, Derek Everett, who guest starred in season 1 of Hunter.
Hi, Casey.
He got to a point where he's like, I don't want anything else for my character. And he just had experience. Like, he had like 30 experience points just sitting around doing nothing. So he was like, he's perfect.
Yeah, Derek wouldn't take up a hobby. Doesn't strike me as like, I'm gonna learn jujitsu now.
But I just remember he got to a point where he was like, I am perfect now. There is nowhere else to go. But anyway, that was character creation. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please drop them in the comments section.
We're dying to talk to you.
Yeah, we check that stuff every day. So we will be more than happy to answer any questions you have. Please
like and subscribe.
Yes, and hit the notification button if you're interested about that 0 session for Frost of the Rime of the Frost Maiden that's coming out soon, DM'd by our very own Coulter. And yeah, I think that's everything.
Awesome. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.
And we'll come up with a tagline eventually? Or are we eventually now? I'm confused.